Hey guys, welcome back to another Hack the Box OSCP prep walkthrough video. Today we're going to be tackling the machine Shocker in the community curated list of machines that are supposed to emulate the OSCP exam. I'm going to go ahead and toss that graphic up over here really quick, just so you guys can kind of see where we're at in the process of going through. I took a poll over on YouTube here to see whether you guys wanted to see more Linux boxes or Windows boxes, and the Linux won the poll, so we're moving through the Linux machines first, and then we'll go over to the Windows machines. But before we got started with this video, I wanted to do a couple of quick announcements. One, I wanted to give a quick shout out to our Discord server that we're going to be starting, just to give some advice on getting into red teaming, InfoSec in general, some advice, maybe some extra help with these walkthrough videos, just to kind of drill home on some of the concepts. And then two, I wanted to thank my friends over at 0 Point Security for partnering with us on this channel. Their mission's very similar to what I'm doing over here on this channel. They're basically a security education company that works on trainings and certifications for red teaming professionals, and they want to make security knowledge and hacking knowledge more accessible and more beginner friendly. They have some great content, so if you're interested in getting some professional education, you want a more formalized training pattern that you might be able to put on a resume, please use the link below to go through. It helps out the channel, helps me out, it also helps my friends out at 0 Point Security. With that said, we can jump right into the video. Okay, so now that we are over in the VPN, or over in the virtual machine, and we're VPN'd into the Hack the Box network, what we can go ahead and do is open up a new tab. I'm going to go into my Hack the Box directory and make a couple of directories for us just to store our information in for this box. So I'm going to make Shocker, and then we're going to CD into it, and then I'm also going to make a directory for our Nmap output. So we'll have that in there as well. And then to kick things off, we're actually just going to launch our Nmap script just like we normally do. So we're going to start with Nmap, and then we're going to do dash lowercase s capital V capital C. And what that's going to do is it's going to run the enumeration on services that are on the machine, and then it's going to take that information and it's also going to run the standard scripts, which is that capital C. And you'll actually see some people do this, which is the dash lowercase v, or dash lowercase s capital V, and then same thing, dash capital C. But you can actually just kind of condense it like this and just do lowercase s capital V and C. It saves you a couple keystrokes. So we'll run that on Nmap. I'm going to do dash lowercase v 2 for a little bit more verbose output, and then we're going to need the IP address of our machine, which is 10.10.10.10.56. In my case, this might be different for you. And then we're going to do our output as dash lowercase o capital G. That's going to output things into a greppable format. That way, if we need to go back and find what port something was running on, or the version number of a service that we found, we can just grep for it really easily. It makes things pretty accessible when we come back. So we just want to save that to the Nmap directory that we just created, and then I'm just going to title that Shocker. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and I will cut this video over to when the Nmap script is done running, and we'll go over the results of that. Okay, so the Nmap script is done running. We did some of our enumeration here. Let's go ahead and check out what's happening. So it looks like the first one that we have is port 80, and that is going to be an Apache server, which is cool because I usually like to start my manual enumeration with web services if there's one open on the machine, just because there's so much attack surface when it comes to web applications and web servers. So we'll probably start there, but just to kind of keep going through everything else, I do see we have quad 2 open, which says it's running SSH, which is interesting. So that's definitely an obscure SSH configuration there. That might be pointing us in the direction of SSH being something that we want to look into, since it's a weird port, but that's kind of it. There's not a lot else open, so one thing that we can do, since this is all saved, we can just, clear this, get rid of it. Since there is a web service running here, while we go and manually check out the web page, I'm actually going to start a directory busting scan. And basically what that's going to do is if we go to this web page and there's not a lot of links or things that we could potentially find just by clicking through and trying to map the application ourselves, it's going to try to brute force and find common directories or common names for directories that might be there that you might not find otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and start that, and we'll run that scan in the background as we kind of progress through manually walking through what's on this web server when we navigate to it in the browser. Okay, and to start that directory busting scan, we're just going to type dirb, and this is just one of the lightweight ones. GoBuster also works. dir search is another one that works, but dirb is pretty lightweight, so we're just going to go ahead and use dirb, let it run in the background. So you just do dirb and then your IP address. So mine is going to be 10.10.10.56 and it's running on HTTP. And then we need to specify the word list that we are going to try to brute force from. So if you're using Kali, there's a lot of default word lists that are going to be in user share word lists. We want to use dirb, and then we're just going to go and try to use the common list. So we will go ahead and kick that off. And then we're actually going to start up a browser here, and we're also going to navigate to the IP address, which is 10.10.10.56, and we'll navigate there. So let's go ahead and we'll manually try to map out, see what's going on here. On the front end, it looks like there's not a ton happening. We can try to just use Control-U to see the source of the page if there's anything hidden in here. And it doesn't really look like there is. There's just this image. Not a lot going on. If this was a harder box, a technique that you may see is you might want to pull down the image, especially if there's just something like this, like only this image on the home page. You might want to pull this down and look at the metadata of the image. There might be clues there. Since this is an easy machine, I'm going to forego that for the time being, but it doesn't really look like we have the ability to do much here. Maybe let's try just to manually navigate to like robots.txt to see if there's anything there. And there's not even a robots.txt file. So there's not a lot going on. We're going to pretty much be relying on this dirb scan that was running in the background to try to find potential directories that might be open. We could try some other common ones like .htaccess, things like that. But for the time being, I'm going to cut this over until I have the results of the dirb scan. That way we can move forward once dirb has identified other hidden directories. Okay, so it looks like dirb finished up scanning here, and it really only found 3 things. We did get a 200 from the index page, which is fine because we already knew that was there. But the 2 that we're kind of interested in is going to be the CGI bin and the server status. And one thing to note here is that these both gave us 403s, so that doesn't mean that the resource wasn't found. It means that it's forbidden and we're unauthorized to actually view the directory listing of those 2 directories. So CGI bin is the common gateway interface for binaries on a web server, and basically what that means is if there's any type of binary, something that needs to be executed on the server side for a web application, it's going to live in CGI bin. So that's particularly interesting for us because we want to, if we can get access to this, there's a lot of well-known exploits with CGI bin. One of them being Shellshock. So we can go ahead and we'll check out what exists on this CGI bin. Potentially, just because we're also, this is one thing to note, is just because we're potentially blocked from viewing this directory listing doesn't mean that we're blocked from viewing any of the actual resources that exist within that directory. So one thing that we can do is we can rerun this, but we're going to run it on CGI bin specifically. So we can come back over to where we specify the URL, and we can do CGI-bin, and then we can do common again, except for this time we're going to be looking for extensions, so we're going to do -X for extensions, and then let's try things like, so we're looking for binaries, so we want to look for things like shell scripts. We want to be looking for things like Perl scripts, things of that nature. So what we can do is we can do .sh, we can do .pl, and we can start from there, and we can kind of move forward. Another common one that we would maybe see would be .php. Again, this is kind of a shot in the dark because we didn't really see any technologies in the source code on the index page. If you did identify a technology stack, so say you saw things like .js everywhere in the source code on the index page, that's definitely something you'd want to specify. I'm just going to run these with .sh, .pl, and .php just because these are common frameworks, and see if we can find things. The .sh is actually specifically coming from the fact that this is CGI bin, and it's binaries that are going to be executed on the server itself, so we want to look for potential shell scripts that might be running on this backend server. Okay, so as you can see, before I cut the video, I actually flubbed the syntax of derb. I don't use it a ton. I actually use GoBuster, and I was thinking of the GoBuster syntax. But what you're looking for is -X, and that'll run. So I let it run against all of our extensions here. It's sh, Perl, and PHP, and it looks like we only came back with a single result, and that's going to be right here. So this is user.sh, which is interesting, and you can see too that we do have a 200 response from the server, which means okay, and that it returned the contents. So we do want to go check that out. Let's just see if whether we're able to see the contents of it, if we can download the script, what it looks like there. So that's at 10.10.10.56. It's going to be in CGI-bin, and then it's going to be user.sh. So if we navigate there, okay, so it looks like we're going to save it. So let's go ahead and save that. It looks like it is downloading. We will see. So let's go. Let's see. Let's move to downloads, and then we have user.sh. We're going to move it to our current directory. So we'll move that, and then we're going to ls again. So now we can cat out the user script and see what's going on there. So it looks like it's just an uptime test script. It has just some standard information about the system, so like some load information on the system. So one thing that we can do now that I like to see is, because this is executing stuff, and it is seeing system load on the backend server. So it is executing something, although we don't get to see what is happening. This looks like it's the output. So one thing that we can do is we can navigate to, or we can use Burp Suite. Burp Suite's going to let us intercept that traffic and see what exactly is being executed and being passed to the backend server in the HTTP responses. So if we go ahead and go over to Burp Suite, we can basically reiterate the same steps, but potentially capture a request that's actually seeing what's executing on the backend server. Burp Suite pulled up. You can actually do that by either going up to the Kali logo and typing Burp Suite. If you don't see it, you can just do sudo apt install Burp Suite, all typed out just like it is here. So you can do that, or you can just type Burp Suite into your terminal, just like it was there, and it'll launch Burp. But we'll pull this up because this is going to act as our proxy. And then I also pulled up Firefox, and I don't have this configured, so we're going to quickly run through this together, how to configure Burp Suite. So you're going to need the extension Foxy Proxy. All you can do is go to Google, type in in Foxy proxy extension, spelled just like this. This will come up. This is the one you want. You want to add it. Then you'll click on the extension. You'll do options. We want to add. You can name this whatever you want. I just like to type Burp Suite in so I know what it is. And then the proxy that we want to be listening on, we want to be listening on localhost, so 127.0.0.1. Make sure there's dots in between those. And then we're going to be proxying our traffic through port 8080. So once that is all configured, we can go ahead. I'm going to slide myself over really quick. So we will save that. Whoops, oh, it didn't take my IP 001, and then we will save that. I'm going to slide myself back into view here. So now that we have Foxy Proxy configured, we'll just click on Burp Suite here, and then actually let's get rid of this. Okay, so now that we have this, let's just go back, and we want to navigate to our one page that we had. So we had 10, 10, 10, 56, and then we wanted to do CGI-bin, and then we want to do user.sh because that's the script, but we want to make sure that our proxy's turned on. So this isn't going to be a Burp Suite tutorial, but just a little bit of a quick use of the tool. So we're going to go to the proxy tab up here, make sure that's on. We're on the intercept sub-tab, turn our intercept on, and then come back here. We're going to send this request through, and then you can see it intercepted our GET request to the server. So we're going to forward that to the server, and then it looks like it spit it back at us. We'll just cancel that for now. But we'll come back to Burp Suite and see what we have. We want to go into proxy and then HTTP history to see what we had previously sent. And then we get, this is our GET request to the server. This is the response. It just kind of shows us the content here of the file. And then you can see that in the content type. What we want to do though is we want to repeat this action. We want to be able to keep sending this GET request to the server to toy with it and manipulate it. So we're going to click into the request here, just anywhere, and then you're going to hit Control-R to send it to the repeater. And now that we have the repeater pulled up, I went ahead and pulled up some payloads that we can use for Shellshock to test if this is vulnerable. And basically what Shellshock is doing is it's reading in some of these HTTP headers and a particular escape sequence that you'll see in a second breaks that parsing, and then it's going to interpret the rest of the line as bash and or just shell command injection. So what we can do, let's just put it in the user agent header, is we'll paste this in, and this is kind of this escape sequence you can think of it as. And then we're going to echo, and we're going to echo that it's vulnerable to CVE 2014-6271, which is Shellshock. So if we send this now, we can see that this does in fact get echoed into the response here. So we could try something like get rid of this thing, see if we can list the directory contents with ls. Doesn't look like there's really anything in there. So what we could try to do maybe is do like ID, see if it will do that. Now let's see if we could do echo ID. Okay, so it does. So we can get some command injection here. Now the process is going to be building out our Shellshock payload. That I wanted to come back and inject this piece in the middle of this walkthrough just to provide some clarification on the Shellshock proof of concept piece of this video that I thought was necessary, as it wasn't super clear what I was doing to begin with. So this, like I said, you can think of this as the escape sequence. This first echo here is to get it correlates with this blank line. So if we removed this echo just like that and we sent this, you'll see that we get a server error. So basically by doing this, what we're doing, wait, we need space here. and then we're separating out the request. So now we should be able to execute with this following echo here, whatever we want. And I think I tried things like to do like ls, but what I failed when I was doing a little bit more reading was that you need to specify the absolute path of the binary. You can't just call it from path. So what we can do is do bin ls, for example, and that should list what file is here. So we'd expect to see user.sh in the response, which is exactly what we do. So I wanted to provide some clarification right there because I felt like that piece was just a little bit confusing, but back to the video. Okay, so now that we have demonstrated that this is vulnerable to Shellshock, we can see that here with some things like doing like bin ls, and we could even do echo who am I here, just to prove what we have here, and I guess this would need to be bin who am I. So, or maybe that isn't on the box, but we did prove that this is vulnerable to Shellshock. And let me check again because that probably should have ran. So let's do bin bash dash c who am I. Okay, so there we go. So now we have the name of the user of the web application here is going to be Shelly. So now let's go in and we can probably just try to get a reverse shell because this is executing OS level commands. So we could theoretically, if this has something like netcat or some other utility, we could use that to send a reverse shell back to us, which in Hack the Box is really the end goal. So what we can do is we can just do like reverse shell cheat sheet, and we'll probably go with like pentest monkey or payloads all the things, one of the two. So we could probably just use the standard bash here. So let's go back now and we'll paste this in. So this is going to do, we just need to edit this a little bit because we do know that this is bin bash, or this is, we need to execute it from the absolute path. So we can do echo bin bash I, redirect into dev TCP. This needs to be our IP address, and then we need to specify the port. So what we'll do is we will go ahead and grab our IP address first. So let's do ifconfig. We have 10.10.10 14.11. So we'll just copy that, come back to burp, and we will paste that in, and then we're going to connect on 4444. So we have that, and then we need to get our listener set up. So what we can go ahead and do over here, I'll clear this out, and I'm actually going to make this a little bit bigger just so we can see. I'm going to do netcat -LVNP. L is for listening mode, V is for verbose output, N is going to skip the DNS name resolution because we don't have that, and then P is going to specify the port. So we're just going to make sure that that port is the same as our payload. We'll go ahead and click enter to start listening for any connections on that port, and then we'll come back over to Burp Suite, make sure that this looks all good, and it should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and send this payload in, and then it looks like we did get a response from the server. It sent us back a reverse shell. So now we should be able to do things like do a little directory traversal, see what's going on here. Let's see if we can cd to home, see what's going on. We'll cd into Shelly. And we will cat out the user.text. Whoops, I guess we don't have tab complete. We could upgrade our shell. At this point, I already have gone this far, so we probably won't. But I'm going to make note of this. Come back over, we're going to start another terminal. We'll cd into Hack the Box, and then Shocker. And then I'm going to nano user, and we'll just do that. We'll paste our flag in there just to save it. and then we'll exit out of there. So come back over here now. We have access. We have a reverse shell on the machine. Now we need to start looking at ways to privilege escalate from this shell user to the root user on this machine. And one thing that I like to do is I like to use linps. So we'll just go ahead and do linps GitHub, and then we will open this up. Okay, so what we need to do is we're going to copy this portion of the link, and then we'll just navigate to it. This should allow us to download it. It does. Okay, so now we just need to come back. We're in Shocker, so we're gonna move the file, and it's currently in downloads. It's linps. We're gonna copy it to our current directory. So now that it's in our current directory, one thing that we can do is Python 3 -m http.server, and then we just need to pick a port that's not already in use, so we'll just do like 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that we have that, we just need to go over to our reverse shell. So I just realized that I was specifying the port in the wrong portion, so we can use curl, or I guess I was using wget, but we'll just use curl. We'll do 10, 10, 10, 14, 11. We want to make sure that this is our IP address, and then we want to specify the port. We're listening on 1, 2, 3, 4, so we need to specify that we're going to connect over 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we want to tell it to grab the linps script. So we'll do linps.sh. That's going to grab all of that. And I just realized that I forgot to pipe it over to bash. So we need to redo that one more time. So we'll do 10, 10, 10, 14, 11, and then we want to specify the port 1, 2, 3, 4, and then linps.sh, and then we're going to use the pipe operator. So that's going to pipe that script, and it's going to get interpreted by bash. So then we'll just do bin bash, and I know it's getting hard to see, so I'm going to move myself over for 1 second. So we'll do curl the linps, and then we're going to pipe that into bash, which is what we're currently executing in. This will run the privilege escalation enumeration script that'll find loopholes for us to privilege escalate through. So I will be back again with you guys in 1 second when this is done running. Okay, so this is done running, and if we come all the way back up to the top here, this actually makes looking through this output very easy, because it does spit a bunch of garbage at you. We are looking for things that are going to be yellow, red, or just red, because these are things that it's saying, hey, these are problems with the configuration in terms of privileges. So if you come down, the only two things that I think stood out, because I pre-looked at this obviously, but we're vulnerable to Shellshock. That's no news to us right now. We keep coming down. There's a lot of output here, so I'm trying to figure out right where it was at. So this is where the second one was, and one thing that I noticed, so it was saying, hey, we ran sudo l, which gives you all the list of things that you can run as sudo with your current user. So this is Shelly, and it's saying we can run Perl with no password. So we can run sudo, we can run basically Perl scripts as the root user with no password, just through Shelly. So that's definitely something that we want to take advantage of. Okay, so I was playing around and accidentally broke the shell, so I'm back in another one. I just resent the burp payload and restarted a new listener if you happen to break it and you want to restart your shell. But basically what we need to do now is we need to grab a Perl reverse shell that we can send from this machine, because we're already here, so we can execute and inject arbitrary operating system commands. You can see we have complete control right now. So now we just need to send a reverse shell back to our local machine from here, and we're just going to execute the Perl script as sudo. So we'll just execute whatever reverse shell through Perl right on the command line, and then just run it as sudo, and then we'll get that reverse shell back as root because the script is being ran as sudo. So what I went ahead and did is we can do some Perl reverse shells here. So I just went on High on Coffee. I just Googled Perl reverse shells. And I went ahead and grabbed this top one here. And then the only thing that we need to change is the attacking IP and the port. So I forgot to hit start, but I already copied these down locally. So if we come over here and just get rid of this, we can list these out, and let's just cat out rev shell. Whoops, cat out rev shell. And we'll see that I just replaced the attacker IP with my IP address, my local IP address, and then I changed the port so that it's a port that's openly available. So what we can do now is we'll just copy all of this this Perl script, and now that we're in here, we can just run sudo and paste that. Now before we actually execute it, what we want to do is we want to start a new netcat listener. We'll do lvnp, and then we want to start this on 1 2 3 4 because that's what we specified in the script. So we'll listen on 1 2 3 4, we'll come over here, we'll execute this, and then we have a root shell, and we can see if we type in who am I, we're root, and now if we do a little bit of some directory traversal, we can see, let's go back one more, and there we are. Okay, so now we can cat out root.txt, and we should have the root flag, and we can finally finish up on this machine. So the ending got a little sloppy because I broke the reverse shell, but I hope you guys learned something about how to exploit and identify Shellshock and see how you can chain these different techniques together to eventually get root on a machine just through a common exploit. We did this all without using Metasploit, so we stayed within the bounds of the OSCP exam. So I hope you guys learned a thing or two from that, because I do think trying to exploit these without Metasploit is super beneficial. That way you're not just plugging in a couple numbers and then hitting exploit. You actually get to see what's kind of going on and how the exploit works more on the server side. So leave some comments below. Just remember to join the Discord if you're interested, and then also to go check out my friends over at 0 Point Security.